The crack of a single rifle shot echoes across the Marine training compound at 0600 hours, followed by the stunned silence of an entire scout sniper team frozen in disbelief. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez lowers his binoculars with trembling hands and whispers to his spotter, "That shot came from the maintenance building ... But that's impossible. There's nobody over there, except..." He pauses, staring at the distant figure in gray coveralls methodically cleaning windows. "Except the cleaning." Lady, preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Fort Meridian stretches across the Arizona desert like a concrete testament to military precision, its red brick buildings baking under the relentless southwestern sun. This sprawling Marine Corps base serves as home to 3,000 Marines, countless support staff, and an endless rotation of training exercises that echo across the dusty landscape from dawn until dusk. The base operates with clockwork efficiency, every person knowing their role, every routine followed to the letter. Among the sea of uniforms and purposeful movement, one figure moves differently through these military corridors. Elena Vasquez pushes her industrial cleaning cart down the polished hallways of Building 7 every morning at exactly 0530 hours, her soft-soled shoes making barely a whisper against the waxed linoleum floors. At 45 years old, she carries herself with an economy of movement that some might mistake for weariness, but others with trained eyes might recognize as something else entirely. Her dark hair is pulled back in a practical ponytail that never seems to come undone, even during the most demanding cleaning tasks. Her olive green cleaning uniform hangs loose on her compact frame, chosen deliberately to obscure rather than reveal. She works methodically through each building on her assigned route, armed with nothing more threatening than spray bottles, microfiber cloths, and an industrial vacuum cleaner that has seen better decades. The Marines who pass her in the hallways offer polite nods when they remember she exists, but most simply navigate around her cart without a second thought. To them, she represents just another piece of the base's infrastructure, as essential and unremarkable as the heating system or the fluorescent lights humming overhead. Elena begins each day before the sun touches the horizon, her weathered Toyota pickup truck pulling through the main gate while most of the base still sleeps. The security guards have long since stopped checking her identification with any real attention, waving her through with the casual familiarity reserved for fixtures of daily routine. She parks in the same spot every morning, a space in the far corner of the civilian parking lot that keeps her vehicle well away from the neat rows of military transport and personal cars belonging to officers and enlisted personnel. Her work takes her into every corner of the base, from the commanding officer's pristine conference rooms to the grimy maintenance bays where mechanics service the heavy equipment. She cleans the barracks where young Marines live, the mess halls where they eat, the training facilities where they prepare for deployment, and the administrative offices where their futures are decided by people who will never know their names. Elena sees everything, hears everything, but speaks only when spoken to, and even then with the practiced brevity of someone who has learned that words can be weapons. The Marines stationed at Fort Meridian come and go like seasonal weather patterns, some staying for brief training rotations, others calling the base home for years at a time. They bring with them stories of distant battles, classified missions, and brothers lost in places whose names appear only in redacted reports. Elena listens to these conversations while she works, not from curiosity but because sound carries in empty hallways, and she has learned that information can be as valuable as ammunition in the right circumstances. Young Lance Corporal Thompson, barely 21 and fresh from infantry training, often jokes with his squad mates when they encounter Elena in the corridors. "There goes Ghost Lady," he'll say with the casual cruelty of youth. "Bet she hasn't said more than 10 words since she started working here." His friends laugh. Not from malice, but from the thoughtless privilege of those who have never needed to remain invisible to survive. They see her gray coveralls and cleaning supplies and assume they understand everything worth knowing about the woman who keeps their world functioning. Staff Sergeant Martinez, a seasoned Marine with deployment ribbons covering the left side of his dress uniform, occasionally watches Elena work with something approaching professional interest. He notices how she moves through spaces with unusual awareness, how her eyes sweep corners and exits with the automatic assessment of someone trained to evaluate tactical situations. But these observations remain unspoken thoughts, filed away in the mental drawer marked "probably nothing important," that all soldiers maintain for information that doesn't immediately affect their mission. The base recreation center represents Elena's most challenging assignment, a sprawling complex filled with weight rooms, basketball courts, and social areas where Marines gather during their limited free time. The facility stays busy from early morning until late evening, requiring constant attention to maintain the standards expected in a military environment. Elena has developed a system for cleaning around the continuous flow of personnel, timing her work to complement their schedules rather than disrupting their activities. In the weight room, she works silently among Marines, pushing their bodies to physical limits, testing strength and endurance that might mean the difference between life and death in combat situations. The sound of clanging metal and controlled breathing provides a constant backdrop to her methodical cleaning routine. She wipes down equipment that moments before was slick with the sweat of warriors preparing for battles they hope they'll never fight, but train for as if their lives depend on the preparation. The basketball courts echo with the competitive shouts of young Marines working off stress and adrenaline through organized chaos. Elena mops the floors during brief breaks between games, her presence so routine that players simply move around her without breaking conversation. She has become part of the architecture, as permanent and unremarkable as the painted lines on the court or the scoreboards mounted on the walls. Building 12 houses the base's administrative offices, where Elena's work requires the highest level of discretion and attention to detail. These rooms contain the paperwork that governs military lives, from promotion recommendations to disciplinary actions, from deployment orders to medical evaluations. She cleans around stacks of classified documents, never touching what doesn't require cleaning, never reading what catches her eye accidentally. The officers who work in these spaces trust her presence implicitly, a trust earned through months of reliable invisible service. Colonel Harrison, the base commanding officer, occasionally nods approvingly when he encounters Elena in the hallways. Outside his office, he appreciates employees who understand their role and execute their duties without requiring supervision or recognition. In his mind, she represents everything positive about civilian support staff: competent, reliable, and refreshingly free from the ego-driven complications that sometimes accompany military contractors seeking to make impressions on senior leadership. Scout Sniper Training Facility occupies a specialized section of the base, where Marines learn the demanding skills required for precision shooting and battlefield reconnaissance. Elena cleans this facility twice weekly, maintaining the classrooms where students study ballistics and wind calculation, the equipment rooms where rifles are stored and maintained, and the observation decks where instructors evaluate student performance during live-fire exercises. These Marines represent the elite within the elite, selected for intelligence, patience, and the psychological stability required to take human lives from distances measured in city blocks. They speak in the technical language of their craft, discussing minute of angle accuracy and environmental factors that affect bullet trajectory with the passion of artists discussing their medium. Elena cleans around their conversations, absorbing their terminology and methodology through osmosis rather than intention. The shooting ranges stretch across several acres of desert terrain, with targets positioned at distances that would challenge even experienced hunters using civilian equipment. Elena's responsibilities here involve maintaining the range buildings and observation towers, but never the actual firing lines where Marines practice their deadly craft. She watches from windows as students attempt shots that seem impossible. To civilian eyes, noting success and failure with the detached interest of someone observing a skill she could never hope to understand. Her small apartment off base reflects the same deliberate anonymity that characterizes her work persona. The furniture is functional rather than decorative, chosen for durability and comfort rather than style or personal expression. The walls display no photographs, no certificates, no mementos that might reveal details about her past or personality. It looks like a place where someone lives temporarily, always ready to pack quickly and disappear without leaving traces of their presence. Every evening, Elena returns to this carefully neutral space and prepares for another day of invisible service. She watches the local news, reads newspapers, maintains awareness of current events without engaging in discussions, expressing opinions about political developments or military actions. She has learned that surviving sometimes requires becoming forgettable, and forgettable people don't have strong opinions about controversial subjects. The base commissary and post exchange provide Elena with everything she needs for her simple lifestyle, from basic groceries to work clothes that blur her outline against the background of military life. She shops efficiently, purchasing only necessities, speaking minimally to cashiers and other customers. Her shopping cart contains no luxury items, no impulse purchases, nothing that might suggest interests or preferences beyond basic survival. Needs. Fort Meridian's medical facility represents one of Elena's most sensitive cleaning assignments, where she maintains examination rooms and administrative areas that deal with Marines' physical and psychological health. She cleans around confidential medical records and sensitive conversations between doctors and patients, maintaining the same professional discretion that characterizes all her work. The medical staff appreciates her reliability and her ability to work effectively without requiring constant instruction or supervision. The base operates according to rhythms that Elena has learned to anticipate and accommodate, from the daily flag ceremonies that mark the beginning and end of each duty day to the seasonal training cycles that bring different types of activity and different cleaning challenges. She has become part of these rhythms, as predictable and essential as any other element of the base's operational infrastructure. But beneath this carefully constructed surface of mundane competence and invisible reliability, Elena Vasquez carries secrets that would transform every casual interaction, every dismissive joke, every assumption about the quiet woman who keeps their world clean and functional. The same hands that grip a mop with practiced efficiency once held instruments of precision warfare that could reach across impossible distances to touch targets with surgical accuracy. The morning briefing room fills with the casual chatter of Marines preparing for another day of training exercises, their voices carrying the easy confidence of warriors who have never doubted their place in the military hierarchy. As Elena enters with her cleaning cart, pushing through the heavy double doors with practiced efficiency, the conversation shifts almost imperceptibly, not stopping, not pausing, but taking on the particular tone that people use when they believe themselves to be speaking in front of someone who doesn't really count. Lance Corporal Williams leans back in his chair, gesturing toward Elena with the casual dismissiveness of youth. "Check it out, guys, right on schedule. You could set your watch by the cleaning lady." His squad mates chuckle appreciatively, not from cruelty, but from the thoughtless superiority of those who measure worth by rank insignia and combat ribbons. They see gray coveralls and assume incompetence, see civilian clothes and assume irrelevance to their warrior world. "I swear she's like a ghost," adds Private First Class Chun, barely 20 years old and still impressed by his own Marine status. "Been here 6 months, and I don't think I've ever heard her say more than 'excuse me' when she needs to get around someone. Probably doesn't even speak English that well." The casual racism slides out so naturally that none of his companions bother to challenge it, accepting cultural assumptions as easily as they accept the morning sunrise. Elena continues her methodical work, spraying surfaces and wiping them clean with movements that suggest years of repetitive labor. Her face reveals nothing, no reaction to their commentary, no acknowledgement that she understands every word they speak about her. She has perfected the art of selective deafness, hearing everything while appearing to notice nothing, a skill that has served her well in environments where information can mean survival. Sergeant Peterson, a combat veteran with 2 Afghanistan deployments under his belt, watches Elena work with mild curiosity rather than dismissal. Something about her movement pattern strikes him as unusual, though he can't articulate exactly what catches his attention. "She's thorough, I'll give her that," he observes to his junior Marines. "Never seen her miss a spot or leave a job half-finished. Wish some of you knuckleheads had her attention to detail." The younger Marines interpret this as praise for work ethic rather than recognition of something deeper. They nod agreeably, accepting that even civilian support staff can occasionally demonstrate admirable qualities without possessing anything approaching military competence or tactical awareness. In their minds, thorough cleaning and combat readiness exist in completely separate universes, connected by nothing more substantial than shared geography. The base gymnasium becomes a theater for more elaborate displays of casual dismissal during the evening hours when off-duty Marines gather for recreational activities. Elena arrives at 1900 hours to clean the facility after the dinner rush, pushing her cart between weight benches and around basketball courts while Marines continue their workouts around her. The ambient noise of clanging metal and bouncing balls provides cover for conversations that range from professional shop talk to personal gossip. "Invisible woman strikes again," jokes Corporal Rodriguez as Elena begins mopping the floor near the free weights section. "I bet she knows where all the bodies are buried on this base. Probably seen every classified document, heard every private conversation. Good thing she's just a cleaning lady, right?" The irony in his words hangs unrecognized in the air, lost on men who have been trained to identify threats at 1,000-meter distances, but can't recognize potential danger standing 3 feet away. With a mop bucket, the weight room culture includes elaborate displays of physical strength and masculine posturing that Elena navigates with practiced invisibility. Marines grunt through repetitions that push their bodies to failure, competing informally to demonstrate superior conditioning and mental toughness. Elena cleans around their performances, wiping down equipment they've just finished using, removing the evidence of their exertion while remaining as unremarkable as the gym's ventilation system. "Hey, cleaning lady," calls out Lance Corporal Davis, his voice carrying the particular tone that people use when addressing service workers they consider beneath notice. "You missed a spot over by the squat rack." He points with casual authority, expecting immediate compliance with his direction. Elena nods wordlessly and moves to address the area he's indicated, her response reinforcing their assumptions about her subordinate status and limited English comprehension. The Marines observe her compliance with approval, interpreting her quick response as appropriate deference to their military authority. They fail to notice the efficiency of her movement, the way she assesses the entire area before focusing on the specific spot they've identified, or the methodical pattern she follows to ensure complete coverage. These details exist below the threshold of their attention, dismissed as irrelevant to their understanding of military competence and tactical awareness. Building 15 houses the base's communication center, where Elena's work requires her to clean around sensitive equipment and classified communication systems. The Marines who operate this facility treat her presence as routine background activity, discussing operational matters in normal voices while she works around their stations. They assume her civilian status and language barriers provide automatic security clearance, protecting classified information through her presumed inability to understand or use what she might accidentally overhear. "Traffic's been heavy from the Middle East today," mentioned Staff Sergeant Lopez to his relief operator, speaking over Elena's head as if she were a piece of furniture rather than a human being capable of processing information. Lots of chatter about new tactical developments. Intelligence community thinks something big might be developing. Elena continues cleaning their workstations, her movements unchanged by information that would fascinate military analysts and foreign intelligence services. The communication Marines have developed casual relationships with Elena based on one-sided familiarity, greeting her by the generic title cleaning lady rather than learning her actual name. They offer perfunctory thanks when she completes work in their area, the kind of minimal acknowledgement reserved for maintenance personnel and other invisible support staff who keep their technical systems functioning properly. Master Sergeant Jackson represents the communication facility's senior leadership, a career Marine with 22 years of service and deployment experience, spanning 3 different combat zones. He watches Elena work with professional appreciation for her consistency and reliability, qualities he values highly in subordinates and support personnel. "She does good work," he tells junior Marines when they make dismissive comments about civilian staff. "Shows up on time, finishes her assignments, doesn't cause problems or ask for special treatment." However, even Jackson's positive evaluation remains limited to her performance in a narrowly defined civilian role. He sees competent custodial work and assumes that represents the full extent of her capabilities, failing to recognize that competence in one area might suggest competence in others. His military experience has taught him to identify potential in young Marines, but he applies different standards to civilian personnel, expecting less and therefore seeing less. The base motor pool provides Elena with her most physically demanding cleaning assignments, requiring her to maintain facilities where Marines service and repair heavy military vehicles. The mechanics who work in these bays treat her presence as part of the facility's operational background, continuing their conversations about engine problems and maintenance schedules while she cleans around their work areas. "Pass me that wrench," Rodriguez calls out Sergeant Kim, gesturing toward a tool lying near Elena's cleaning supplies. When she hands him the requested tool without being asked directly, he accepts it with surprised gratitude. "Thanks, cleaning lady. Didn't know you understood English that well." His comment reflects assumptions that have persisted despite months of evidence to the contrary. Assumptions that persist because they support comfortable preconceptions about civilian support staff and their limited capabilities. The motor pool Marines discuss vehicle capabilities and tactical applications with casual expertise, describing armor thickness and weapon systems performance, while Elena works silently around their conversations. They assume her civilian background provides natural protection against unauthorized disclosure of sensitive military information, never considering that some civilians might possess military backgrounds of their own. Lance Corporal Thompson represents the motor pool's youngest mechanic, a recent graduate of technical training who takes pride in his specialized knowledge of military vehicle systems. He often explains mechanical concepts to his peers with the enthusiasm of someone who has recently mastered complex subjects, speaking loudly enough for Elena to overhear his impromptu lectures on engine performance and tactical mobility. These new armored vehicles can take punishment that would destroy older models, he explains to a group of junior Marines, his voice carrying across the motor pool. Advanced armor design, better engine cooling, improved communication systems. Technology keeps getting better, keeps our guys safer in combat zones. Elena continues her cleaning routine, absorbing technical information that might prove valuable in circumstances Thompson can't imagine. The base dining facility represents Elena's most socially complex cleaning environment, where she works around Marines during their meal periods, observing the informal hierarchy and social dynamics that govern military life. She cleans tables while Marines eat, empties trash containers while they discuss everything from family problems to career plans, maintaining her invisible presence among hundreds of daily conversations. The dining facility staff, composed of both military personnel and civilian contractors, treat Elena with casual familiarity that stops short of genuine friendship or professional respect. They appreciate her reliability and work quality while maintaining clear boundaries that preserve military-civilian distinctions and reinforce assumptions about relative status and capability. "She's okay for a civilian," observes Staff Sergeant Wilson, the dining facility's senior military supervisor. "Keeps her mouth shut, does her job, doesn't try to get involved in military business. That's all we can ask from support personnel." His evaluation reflects military attitudes that value compliance and invisibility in civilian staff, preferring workers who remain clearly separated from operational concerns and tactical discussions. Every morning at 0515 hours, 15 minutes before her official shift begins, Elena's weathered Toyota pickup truck passes through Fort Meridian's main gate. The security guards have long stopped examining her base access credentials with any real attention, offering tired waves that acknowledge her as part of the base's permanent landscape. But what they don't notice, what nobody notices, is that Elena arrives early not from dedication to civilian employment, but from habits ingrained by years of military service where being 15 minutes early was considered on time, and being on time was considered late. Her first stop each morning takes her to the base flagpole, where she performs a ritual that has nothing to do with her assigned cleaning duties. Elena methodically inspects the American flag for wear, checking the fabric for tears, ensuring the grommets remain secure, and verifying that the halyard lines run smoothly through their pulleys. When she discovers the flag becoming frayed from desert winds and sun exposure, she quietly contacts the base administrative office to request replacement, never taking credit for her vigilance or expecting recognition for maintaining this symbol of military pride. The flag inspection consumes exactly 4 minutes of her morning routine, followed by a silent moment where Elena stands at attention with military bearing that would be recognizable to any drill instructor. Her posture during these moments reveals training that runs deeper than civilian employment, muscle memory that responds to symbols and ceremonies, with automatic respect earned through shared sacrifice and common service. She renders this unofficial morning honor to the flag every day, regardless of weather conditions or schedule pressures. Building 7's corridors receive Elena's most thorough attention, not because her supervisors demand perfection, but because she has developed personal standards that exceed any civilian employment requirements. She notices details that escape regular observation: burned-out light bulbs and emergency exit signs, loose screws in door hinges, worn spots in carpeting that might eventually become safety hazards. Rather than ignoring these maintenance issues as beyond her job description, Elena quietly reports them to appropriate personnel, preventing small problems from becoming larger ones. Her methodical approach to corridor maintenance reveals systematic thinking that suggests military logistics training. Elena organizes her supply cart with precision that maximizes efficiency, positioning cleaning materials in sequences that minimize movement and wasted motion. Every tool has its designated place. Every supply is inventoried and replaced before depletion becomes critical. This organizational discipline extends beyond practical necessity into the realm of professional pride that characterizes career military personnel. The base library occupies a quiet corner of Building 7, serving Marines who pursue continuing education during off-duty hours. Elena cleans this facility with particular care, understanding intuitively that learning environments require different attention than operational spaces. She dusts bookshelves with gentle precision, maintains computer terminals without disrupting saved work, and ensures study areas remain conducive to concentration and academic achievement. Within the library's military history section, Elena occasionally pauses to straighten books that have been displaced by casual browsing. Her hands linger briefly on volumes dealing with modern warfare, counterinsurgency operations, and tactical development, subjects that would challenge most civilian readers, but seem familiar to her touch. She never opens these books during work hours, never allows personal interest to interfere with professional duties, but her careful handling suggests deeper familiarity with their contents. The base chapel represents one of Elena's most sensitive assignments, requiring her to maintain a space that serves multiple religious denominations and personal spiritual needs. She approaches this work with reverence that transcends her own beliefs, cleaning around religious symbols and ceremonial objects with careful respect for their sacred significance. Elena understands instinctively that many Marines use this space to process experiences that civilian society cannot fully comprehend or appreciate. During quiet moments in the chapel, Elena performs maintenance tasks with unusual gentleness, polishing wooden pews that have absorbed the prayers of warriors, preparing for deployment and the grief of survivors processing loss. She replaces burned candles, arranges hymnals in neat rows, and ensures the altar area remains pristine for ceremonies that mark the most significant moments in military lives, memorial services, wedding ceremonies, and informal gatherings where Marines seek spiritual comfort for psychological wounds that don't show on medical examinations. The base medical facility requires Elena to maintain clinical standards that exceed typical cleaning protocols, demanding attention to sanitation and infection control that protects vulnerable patients and medical personnel. She approaches this work with systematic precision that suggests understanding of medical environments and their unique requirements. Elena knows instinctively which cleaning products are appropriate for different medical equipment, how to sanitize surfaces without damaging sensitive instruments, and when to schedule deep cleaning procedures around patient care activities. Her work in the medical facility brings Elena into contact with wounded Marines receiving treatment for training injuries and deployment-related conditions. She observes these interactions with quiet compassion, understanding through personal experience the psychological impact of physical trauma and the challenge of maintaining military identity while dealing with medical vulnerability. Elena cleans around these sensitive conversations with professional discretion, never intruding on private moments between medical personnel and their patients. The physical therapy section of the medical facility showcases Elena's most thoughtful maintenance approach, where she works around Marines rebuilding strength and mobility after serious injuries. She understands intuitively that these warriors face battles more challenging than combat operations, fighting to reclaim physical capabilities that define their military identity and personal self-worth. Elena ensures exercise equipment remains spotlessly clean and properly maintained, recognizing that functional reliability can affect recovery outcomes and psychological morale. Building 12 houses the base's administrative headquarters, where Elena's cleaning responsibilities require the highest levels of discretion and professional conduct. She works around classified documents, sensitive personnel files, and strategic planning materials that govern military operations across multiple theaters. Rather than treating this as routine custodial work, Elena approaches these assignments with security consciousness that reflects understanding of information, sensitivity, and operational security requirements. The administrative offices contain numerous awards, certificates, and military memorabilia that tell the story of Fort Meridian's operational history and the Marines who have served here over decades of military evolution. Elena dusts these displays with particular care, handling medals and photographs with respect that suggests personal understanding of their significance. She straightens unit citations, polishes trophy cases, and maintains historical exhibits with attention that goes beyond job requirements into the realm of personal tribute to military heritage. Elena's work in the Commanding Officers Conference room requires her to maintain a space where critical decisions are made about training programs, deployment schedules, and personnel assignments that will affect thousands of military lives. She cleans around strategy maps, operational timelines, and communication equipment with systematic thoroughness that ensures the space remains ready for important meetings and classified briefings. Her presence in this sensitive environment reflects the trust that senior leadership places in her professional discretion and reliable service. The Scout Sniper Training Facility receives Elena's most specialized attention, though she performs her duties there with the same quiet efficiency that characterizes all her work. She maintains classrooms where Marines learn advanced marksmanship techniques, equipment storage areas where precision rifles are secured, and administrative offices where instructors plan training programs that will determine which Marines qualify for the military's most demanding specialties. Elena's cleaning routine in the sniper facility reveals familiarity with specialized equipment and training materials that would confuse most civilian personnel. She works around ballistics computers, range-finding equipment, and training aids with careful attention that suggests understanding of their function and importance. When she encounters displaced training materials or equipment stored improperly, Elena quietly corrects these situations without drawing attention to her actions or expecting recognition for her vigilance. The facility's trophy cases display photographs of distinguished graduates, training records, and awards that recognize exceptional marksmanship achievement. Elena maintains these displays with particular reverence, understanding intuitively the dedication and sacrifice required to earn recognition. In this demanding field, she polishes glass surfaces until they achieve perfect clarity, ensuring that the achievements documented within remain visible and inspiring to current students who aspire to similar excellence. Elena's maintenance of the observation towers that overlook the sniper training ranges requires her to climb to elevated positions that offer panoramic views of the desert training area. From these vantage points, she can observe training exercises in progress, watching Marines attempt precision shots at distances that challenge human capability and equipment performance. Elena never interferes with training activities or draws attention to her presence, but her positioning during these observations suggests professional interest that goes beyond casual curiosity. The equipment storage areas within the sniper facility contain precision rifles, optical equipment, and specialized ammunition that represent millions of dollars in military investment and technological development. Elena cleans around these materials with systematic care that ensures their protection from dust, moisture, and contamination that could affect performance during critical operations. Her handling of storage containers and equipment cases reveals familiarity with proper procedures for maintaining sensitive military hardware. During evening hours, Elena often remains on base long after her official shift ends, performing maintenance tasks that fall outside her formal job description but contribute to overall base functionality and safety. She replaces burned-out security lighting, clears debris from drainage systems, and addresses minor repair issues that might otherwise require expensive contractor services or delay until maintenance. Personnel become available during regular duty hours. These voluntary efforts reflect personal investment in base operations that transcends employment obligations and approaches the level of ownership that characterizes career military personnel. Elena treats Fort Meridian as her responsibility rather than simply her workplace, demonstrating commitment that puzzles supervisors who are accustomed to civilian employees who perform only assigned duties and avoid additional responsibilities that don't directly affect their compensation or job security. Her after-hours presence on base also provides Elena with opportunities to observe training activities and operational procedures that occur outside normal duty hours. When security is typically reduced and classified activities might be conducted with less oversight. She uses these observations to enhance her understanding of base operations and potential vulnerabilities, though she keeps this knowledge private and never discusses her observations with other personnel or civilian contacts. The emergency alert system pierces the pre-dawn silence at 0547 hours with a sound that hasn't been heard at Fort Meridian in over 8 years. The klaxon's urgent wail cuts through the desert air like a blade, jarring Marines from sleep and sending shock waves through personnel who have grown comfortable with the routine predictability of peacetime training operations. In barracks across the base, young Marines stumble from their bunks in confusion, fumbling for uniforms while trying to process what this unfamiliar sound means for their suddenly disrupted world. Elena freezes in the middle of mopping the administrative building's main corridor, her cleaning supplies forgotten as muscle memory from another life, responds automatically to the emergency signal. Her body assumes a combat-ready posture that would be instantly recognizable to any drill instructor. But the Marines rushing past her see only a startled civilian caught off guard by military procedures she couldn't possibly understand. The contrast between her immediate physical response and their assumptions about her capabilities creates an irony that remains invisible in the chaos of emergency mobilization. The base's communication center erupts into frantic activity as personnel struggle to establish contact with higher command and determine the nature of the threat that has triggered their first real emergency in nearly a decade. Radio operators who have spent years managing routine training communications suddenly find themselves handling priority traffic from multiple sources, their voices tight with stress as they attempt to coordinate responses to a situation that has evolved beyond all their peacetime preparation and experience. Staff Sergeant Martinez bursts into the communication center, his uniform hastily assembled and his eyes wide with the particular anxiety that comes from being responsible for personnel safety during an undefined crisis. "What's the situation?" he demands of the senior radio operator, a question that receives only confused looks and frustrated gestures toward equipment that continues broadcasting emergency signals without providing clear information about their source or meaning. "We're getting multiple alerts from perimeter sensors," reports Corporal Jackson, his voice betraying years of training that never prepared him for genuine emergency conditions. Motion detectors along the eastern fence line are showing coordinated movement patterns, but visual confirmation is negative. Could be equipment malfunction, could be animals, could be. He doesn't finish the sentence, but everyone in the room understands the implications of the alternative he's reluctant to voice. The base's perimeter security system represents technology installed during more dangerous times, when Fort Meridian served as a strategic installation requiring protection against potential infiltration or attack. Years of peaceful operation have allowed personnel to treat these systems as training aids rather than operational necessities, conducting routine maintenance without seriously considering scenarios where their function might become critical. For base security and personnel survival, Captain Rodriguez assumes command of the emergency response, his peacetime administrative experience providing insufficient preparation for tactical decision-making under pressure. He attempts to follow protocols designed for theoretical emergencies while dealing with practical complications that military manuals never anticipated: confused personnel, malfunctioning equipment, and communication systems that have been optimized for training exercises rather than genuine crisis management. "I need reconnaissance teams deployed immediately," Rodriguez orders, his voice carrying authority that his trembling hands undermine. "Full perimeter sweep, visual confirmation of any threats, report back in 15 minutes. The Marines who receive these orders exchange glances that reveal their own uncertainty about procedures they have practiced but never executed under conditions where failure might have genuine consequences rather than training demerits. Elena continues her cleaning routine with mechanical precision, while observing the emergency response with professional interest that she carefully conceals behind civilian confusion and concern. She notices tactical errors that experienced personnel would immediately recognize: poor communication discipline, inadequate coordination between response teams, and security vulnerabilities that result from treating genuine emergencies like training exercises with safety nets that don't exist in real operational environments. The eastern perimeter of Fort Meridian stretches across several miles of desert terrain that provides excellent visibility during daylight hours, but creates numerous concealment opportunities during darkness or adverse weather conditions. The reconnaissance teams deployed to investigate the sensor alerts represent Marines with limited field experience, trained in basic infantry tactics, but lacking the specialized skills required for effective surveillance and threat assessment. In challenging terrain, Lance Corporal Williams leads the primary reconnaissance team, his confidence bolstered by training that has never been tested against genuine opposition or real-world complications. He approaches the perimeter investigation with academic precision, following procedures learned in classroom environments, where mistakes result in instructor criticism rather than operational failure or personnel casualties. His team moves with textbook coordination that looks impressive during training exercises, but may prove inadequate against experienced opponents who don't follow training manual predictions. The desert landscape surrounding Fort Meridian provides natural advantages for potential infiltrators who understand how to exploit terrain features, weather conditions, and predictable patrol patterns that have been optimized for training purposes rather than security effectiveness. The base's peaceful history has allowed security procedures to evolve toward convenience and routine rather than maintaining the paranoid vigilance required for protection against determined opposition. Elena's position in the administrative building provides her with access to communication traffic and tactical discussions that reveal the extent of the base's unpreparedness for genuine emergency conditions. She listens to radio conversations that demonstrate confusion about basic procedures, disagreement about threat assessment priorities, and lack of coordination between different response elements that should function as integrated components of base security operations. The emergency response reveals systemic weaknesses that have developed during years of peaceful operation, when security requirements took secondary priority to training efficiency and administrative convenience. Personnel who have spent careers preparing for combat deployments in distant theaters find themselves unprepared for potential threats to their home installation, their expertise optimized for offensive operations rather than defensive responsibilities. Master Sergeant Thompson attempts to coordinate the reconnaissance effort from the Base Operations Center, his experience with deployment operations providing limited guidance for managing security threats to stateside installations. He struggles to adapt overseas tactical procedures to domestic security requirements, finding that protocols designed for foreign environments may not translate effectively to situations where civilian authorities, legal constraints, and political considerations complicate military responses. The perimeter sensors continue broadcasting alerts that may indicate genuine infiltration attempts or may result from equipment failures that have gone undetected during routine maintenance periods. The technical personnel responsible for sensor operation lack experience with troubleshooting under emergency conditions. Their training focused on scheduled maintenance rather than crisis diagnosis and repair under pressure. Elena observes the emergency response with growing concern that she carefully masks behind appropriate civilian anxiety and confusion. She recognizes tactical problems that could result in operational failure or personnel casualties, but her civilian status prevents her from offering assistance or advice without revealing military knowledge that would compromise her carefully maintained cover identity and raise questions about her background that she cannot answer safely. The base's armory becomes a focal point of emergency activity as personnel attempt to issue weapons and ammunition according to protocols that assume adequate preparation time, and clear threat identification. The reality of emergency conditions creates complications that peacetime procedures never anticipated. Personnel who can't immediately locate proper equipment, weapon systems that haven't been maintained for rapid deployment, and ammunition accountability. Requirements that conflict with operational urgency. Staff Sergeant Kim struggles to balance security requirements with operational necessity as Marines request weapon authorizations for threats that remain undefined and potentially non-existent. His peacetime experience with armory management provides insufficient guidance for determining appropriate response levels when the nature and extent of potential threats remain unclear, forcing him to make tactical decisions based on incomplete information and theoretical training. The communication systems that connect Fort Meridian to higher command authorities reveal their limitations under emergency conditions, when routine procedures prove inadequate for conveying complex tactical situations that require immediate guidance and support. Radio operators find themselves attempting to describe unprecedented circumstances, using standardized terminology that may not accurately represent the nuances of their developing situation. Captain Rodriguez faces the most challenging decision of his military career as he attempts to determine whether the emergency alerts represent genuine threats requiring maximum response, or equipment failures that could result in embarrassing overreaction to non-existent dangers. His choice will affect not only immediate base security, but also his career prospects and the reputation of his command. Creating pressure that academic training never replicated effectively, the Eastern Reconnaissance Team reports negative visual contact despite continued sensor alerts, creating uncertainty about whether potential infiltrators have avoided detection or whether technical problems are generating false alarms. This ambiguity forces command personnel to choose between maintaining high alert status that disrupts base operations or reducing readiness levels that might prove inadequate if genuine threats materialize. Elena completes her assigned cleaning tasks while maintaining careful observation of emergency procedures that reveal both strengths and weaknesses in base security operations. She processes tactical information that could prove valuable in circumstances that remain undefined, but potentially dangerous. Her military experience providing analytical capabilities that remain hidden behind her civilian employment status. And carefully maintained anonymity. The reconnaissance team's radio crackles with urgent transmissions as Lance Corporal Williams' voice cuts through the static, his usual confidence replaced by barely controlled panic. Base Command, we have positive identification of hostile personnel. Repeat, we have eyes on at least 6 armed individuals moving through Sector 7 with what appears to be demolition equipment. They're heading directly toward the ammunition storage facility. The words hang in the desert air like a death sentence, transforming theoretical emergency into deadly reality that no amount of peacetime training has prepared them to handle. Captain Rodriguez feels his stomach drop as the implications crash over him like a physical blow. The ammunition storage facility contains enough explosives to level half the base, creating casualties that would number in the hundreds in damage. That would cripple military operations across the entire southwestern region. His peacetime administrative experience offers no guidance for tactical decisions that could mean the difference between successful defense and catastrophic failure that would haunt him for whatever remained of his shortened career. All units. This is Base Command. Rodriguez broadcasts with authority that his trembling voice undermines. We have confirmed hostile infiltration with potential terrorist objectives. Implement Code Red security protocols immediately. All personnel not essential to emergency response are to shelter in place until further notice. The formal language of military procedure provides psychological comfort that masks the terrifying reality that none of them truly understand. What Code Red protocol should accomplish under these unprecedented circumstances? Elena freezes in position. As the announcement echoes through the administrative building, her civilian cleaning duties forgotten as muscle memory from another life processes, tactical information with professional precision that would surprise anyone who noticed her immediate transformation. Her body assumes combat readiness that reflects training far more extensive than custodial work, but the Marines rushing past her see only a frightened civilian caught in circumstances beyond her understanding or capability. The base armory erupts into controlled chaos as Marines attempt to draw weapons and ammunition according to procedures designed for orderly training exercises rather than emergency conditions where time measured in minutes could determine survival outcomes. Staff Sergeant Kim struggles to balance security protocols with operational urgency, knowing that excessive caution could prove as deadly as reckless haste if hostile forces reach their objectives before defensive preparations are completed. I need every available rifle and sufficient ammunition for sustained defensive operations, demands Sergeant Martinez, his combat deployment experience finally proving relevant to his current assignment. Forget the paperwork, forget the accountability. Procedures. If those explosives detonate, there won't be anyone left to audit our inventory records. His pragmatic approach cuts through bureaucratic hesitation that could prove fatal under genuine combat conditions. Elena's position in the administrative building provides her with access to tactical communications that reveal the extent of the crisis and the inadequacy of available response capabilities. She listens to radio traffic that demonstrates confusion about enemy strength, uncertainty about their objectives, and lack of coordination between defensive elements that should function as integrated components of base security operations. The coordination between defensive elements that should function as integrated components of base security operations. Hostile infiltrators represent a level of threat that Fort Meridian's peaceful history has never required its personnel to confront. Their coordinated movement and professional equipment suggesting military training that may exceed the capabilities of Marines who have spent careers preparing for overseas deployment rather than domestic defense operations. The tactical situation that emerges from reconnaissance reports paints a picture of organized opposition that has planned this operation with intimate knowledge of base layout and security vulnerabilities. Master Sergeant Thompson assumes tactical command of the defensive response, his deployment experience providing valuable guidance for combat operations that his peacetime colleagues lack entirely. He recognizes immediately that conventional infantry tactics may prove inadequate against opponents who have selected objectives that maximize psychological impact and operational disruption rather than engaging in traditional combat scenarios that favor superior numbers and firepower. They're not here to fight us directly, Thompson explains to his hastily assembled command team, his analysis revealing professional understanding of asymmetric warfare principles. They want to create maximum destruction with minimum engagement, hitting our most vulnerable targets before we can organize effective resistance. This is terrorism, not conventional military action, and we need to adjust our response accordingly. The ammunition storage facility becomes the focal point of desperate defensive preparations as Marines attempt to establish security perimeters around targets they should have protected more effectively during peacetime conditions. The facility's location, chosen for safety during routine operations, now represents a tactical nightmare that provides numerous approach routes for attackers while limiting defensive positions for Marines, who must prevent catastrophic explosions. Elena processes tactical information with analytical capabilities that remain hidden behind her civilian employment status, her military experience providing insights into enemy objectives and defensive vulnerabilities that could prove valuable if anyone realized her background included combat operations rather than custodial services. She understands intuitively that the current crisis requires specialized skills that few personnel on base possess, capabilities that have been devalued during years of peaceful routine. The base communication center struggles to maintain contact with higher command authorities while coordinating defensive operations that exceed their peacetime experience and available resources. Radio operators find themselves managing combat communications that require precision and clarity they have never practiced under genuine combat conditions, where mistakes could result in operational failure rather than training demerits. Lieutenant Jackson attempts to coordinate perimeter security using personnel who have never participated in defensive operations against determined opposition. Their training optimized for offensive tactics that may prove counterproductive when protecting fixed installations against infiltrators who understand base layout and security procedures. The tactical challenges multiply as peaceful training environment transforms into genuine combat zone. The eastern perimeter sensors provide continuous alerts that confirm hostile movement but offer insufficient detail for effective tactical planning. Their peacetime calibration optimized for detecting routine security violations, rather than coordinated military operations by trained professionals who understand countermeasures and electronic warfare techniques that could neutralize surveillance systems. Elena's cleaning cart becomes an unlikely observation post as she moves through corridors that provide access to tactical discussions and emergency planning sessions, her civilian status allowing her to remain present during conversations that would exclude unauthorized personnel under normal security protocols. She absorbs critical information about defensive capabilities and operational limitations, while maintaining appropriate civilian confusion and concern. The hostile infiltrators demonstrate tactical sophistication that suggests extensive preparation and professional military backgrounds, their coordination and equipment indicating resources that exceed typical terrorist capabilities and approach conventional military standards. This realization forces command personnel to acknowledge that their initial threat assessments may have underestimated enemy capabilities and overestimated their own defensive readiness. Captain Rodriguez faces the most critical decision of his career as reconnaissance reports indicate that hostile forces have reached positions that threaten multiple vital installations simultaneously, forcing him to choose between dispersing limited defensive resources or concentrating them to protect single high-priority targets. His peacetime experience provides no guidance for tactical decisions that could determine whether the base survives intact or suffers catastrophic damage. The Scout Sniper Training Facility becomes an unexpected factor in defensive planning as command personnel realize that precision marksmen could provide critical capabilities for engaging hostile forces at distances that exceed conventional infantry effectiveness. However, the facility's current personnel lack operational experience, their expertise limited to training scenarios that may not translate effectively to genuine combat conditions. Against professional opposition. Staff Sergeant Wilson attempts to organize sniper teams using available personnel and equipment, but quickly discovers that peacetime training has not prepared his Marines for combat operations that require immediate decisions about target identification, engagement priorities, and risk assessment under conditions where mistakes could prove fatal for both operators and protected personnel. Elena observes these preparations with professional interest that she carefully conceals behind civilian anxiety, recognizing that available sniper capabilities may prove inadequate for the tactical challenges presented by coordinated infiltration and the precision required to neutralize threats without causing collateral damage to ammunition storage facilities that could detonate from stray rounds or fragments. The Armory's weapon distribution creates bottlenecks that delay defensive preparations, while highlighting equipment shortages that peacetime planning never anticipated, forcing Marines to operate with insufficient ammunition, outdated equipment, and weapon systems that require maintenance attention. They lack time to provide under emergency conditions that demand immediate operational capability. Master Sergeant Thompson's tactical assessment reveals the harsh reality that Fort Meridian's defensive capabilities have been optimized for training purposes, rather than genuine security threats, creating vulnerabilities that determined opposition can exploit more easily than command personnel previously realized. The base that seemed secure during peaceful conditions now appears dangerously exposed to attack by professionals who understand its weaknesses. Elena completes her movement through the administrative building while processing tactical information that could prove crucial for successful defense, but her civilian status prevents her from participating in planning sessions or offering advice that might reveal military knowledge incompatible with her employment background. She remains invisible in plain sight, possessing capabilities that nobody recognizes as available resources. The communication systems strain under emergency traffic that exceeds their peacetime capacity, creating delays and confusion that complicate coordination between defensive elements while providing time advantages to hostile forces who operate according to predetermined plans rather than reactive procedures that depend on effective information flow and command authority. The Eastern Reconnaissance Team reports that hostile forces have separated into multiple elements that threaten different targets simultaneously, forcing defensive commanders to acknowledge that their available resources may prove insufficient for protecting all critical installations against coordinated attack by professionals who have planned this operation with thorough understanding of base vulnerabilities and defensive limitations. The radio silence from the Eastern Reconnaissance Team stretches into an eternity of static that speaks louder than any emergency transmission could convey. Master Sergeant Thompson stares at the communication equipment with the growing realization that his Marines have either been eliminated or forced into hiding by hostile forces, whose capabilities exceed every peacetime assessment of potential threats. The tactical situation has deteriorated beyond conventional response protocols, leaving him with limited options and dwindling time before the ammunition facility becomes ground zero for devastation that could be measured in city blocks. Elena appears in the doorway of the communication center like a ghost materializing from shadows, still wearing her gray coveralls but carrying herself with military bearing that transforms her entire presence from invisible civilian into something altogether different. The Marines manning the radio equipment barely register her arrival, too focused on desperate attempts to re-establish contact with lost personnel to notice that the cleaning lady has entered their most sensitive operational space during the base's gravest crisis. "Excuse me," Elena says quietly, her voice carrying undertones of authority that seem incompatible with her civilian employment status. "I couldn't help but overhear your tactical situation. You're dealing with professional infiltrators who understand your defensive capabilities and have planned accordingly. Your current response protocols aren't designed for this level of threat." The words hang in the air like an impossible contradiction, spoken by someone who shouldn't possess the knowledge to make such assessments. Staff Sergeant Martinez turns toward Elena with confusion that rapidly transforms into something approaching recognition, his deployment experience providing sensitivity to military bearing that transcends uniform or rank insignia. "Ma'am, I don't understand. Your civilian support staff. How do you know about tactical protocols or threat assessment?" His question carries genuine curiosity rather than dismissal, suggesting professional respect for capabilities he can't yet fully comprehend. Elena moves to the tactical display board with fluid efficiency that reveals intimate familiarity with military planning procedures, her fingers tracing defensive positions and infiltration routes with analytical precision that demonstrates understanding far beyond civilian employment. "Because I've been exactly where you are right now, facing impossible odds with insufficient resources and personnel who weren't prepared for genuine combat operations. The difference is that I survived to learn from those mistakes." The communication center falls into stunned silence as Elena's transformation becomes undeniable, her civilian facade dissolving to reveal military expertise that has remained hidden beneath years of deliberate anonymity and careful misdirection. Master Sergeant Thompson approaches her with growing awareness that his understanding of available resources may have been dangerously incomplete. His tactical calculations missing critical capabilities that have been present but unrecognized. "You're military," Thompson states rather than asks, his professional assessment cutting through confusion to identify the obvious truth that none of them have previously recognized. "Combat experience, probably specialized operations. But our personnel records don't show any military background in your employment file. How is that possible? And why are you revealing this information now when you've maintained civilian status for months?" Elena's response carries the weight of decisions made under extreme pressure, when survival depends on abandoning comfortable deceptions for dangerous truths that offer the only hope for preventing catastrophic failure. "My name is Elena Vasquez, formerly Gunnery Sergeant Elena Vasquez, Marine Corps Scout Sniper, served 3 combat deployments before circumstances required me to assume civilian identity for personal security reasons that remain classified at levels above your clearance authority." The revelation strikes the communication center like a physical blow, transforming their understanding of available resources and tactical options in ways that could determine whether the base survives the next 30 minutes intact or becomes a casualty statistic that investigators will analyze for years without fully understanding the human factors that contributed to either success or catastrophic failure. "Scout Sniper," Martinez repeats slowly, his voice reflecting the professional respect that designation commands among Marines who understand the training, dedication, and proven capability required to earn such recognition. "Ma'am, with respect, we have 6 confirmed hostiles approaching the ammunition facility with demolition equipment. Our sniper teams are trainees with no combat experience. If you're qualified for precision operations under combat conditions." Elena interrupts with tactical assessment that demonstrates intimate understanding of the developing situation and available response options. "Your trainees can't make the shots required under these conditions. Night vision, moving targets, explosive ordnance that could detonate from near misses, civilian safety considerations, and time pressure that eliminates second chances. This situation requires capabilities that training alone cannot provide." The base armory becomes Elena's immediate destination as she moves with purpose that transforms the facility's chaotic weapon distribution into organized preparation for precision operations. Staff Sergeant Kim watches in amazement as Elena selects equipment with expertise that reveals intimate familiarity with specialized weapons, systems, and operational requirements that exceed standard infantry training by significant margins. "I need the M406 with Leopold Mark IV optics, match-grade ammunition, bipod assembly, and ghillie suit components," Elena specifies with technical precision that demonstrates professional knowledge of sniper equipment and its tactical applications. Also night vision compatible scope covers, rangefinder, wind meter, and communications headset compatible with your tactical frequency. Time is critical, so skip the paperwork and focus on operational readiness. Elena's equipment selection reveals systematic understanding of precision shooting requirements under combat conditions, her choices reflecting experience with similar operations where equipment failure or inadequate preparation could result in mission failure and casualty, outcomes that extend far beyond immediate tactical objectives. Her movements suggest muscle memory developed through extensive training and practical application under genuine combat stress. The transition from civilian cleaning lady to combat ready Marine Scout Sniper occurs with startling rapidity that demonstrates the artificial nature of her previous identity and the depth of military capabilities that she has deliberately concealed during months of invisible service. Elena strips away gray coveralls to reveal military-style clothing that suggests she has maintained readiness for precisely this type of emergency situation. Master Sergeant Thompson coordinates tactical communications while observing Elena's preparation with professional appreciation for capabilities that could transform their defensive options from desperate resistance to precision, elimination of threats before they reach critical objectives. Gunnery Sergeant, what's your assessment of optimal shooting positions given current terrain and target approach routes? Elena studies tactical maps with analytical speed that reflects extensive experience with similar operational planning. Her assessment incorporating factors that training scenarios rarely address: wind patterns affected by building structures, background considerations that affect target identification, escape routes that could be compromised by enemy countermeasures, and time limitations that eliminate methodical preparation procedures. Building 12's eastern tower provides optimal sightlines to the ammunition facility approaches, but it's also predictable enough that professional infiltrators will expect sniper positions there. Elena explains while mentally calculating range, elevation, and environmental factors that will affect shot placement. I recommend the water tower position, which offers superior concealment and unexpected firing angles that could provide tactical advantage. The base's water tower represents an unconventional sniper position that requires climbing skills and tolerance for exposure that most personnel would find challenging under normal conditions, much less during combat operations where enemy return fire could prove fatal. Elena approaches this challenge with calm confidence that suggests experience with similar tactical situations and successful outcomes under comparable pressure. Elena's ascent to the water tower position occurs with stealth and efficiency that demonstrate training in covert movement and tactical infiltration, skills that remain relevant despite years of civilian employment that have provided excellent cover for maintaining such capabilities without drawing official attention or raising questions about her background and qualifications. The view from the water tower encompasses the entire eastern approach to the ammunition facility, providing Elena with comprehensive observation of terrain features, potential concealment positions, and movement routes that hostile forces might exploit during their final approach to target objectives. Her tactical analysis incorporates professional understanding of infiltration techniques and defensive countermeasures. Elena establishes her firing position with methodical precision that balances speed requirements with accuracy needs, understanding that rushed preparation could prove as dangerous as inadequate time for proper positioning. Her setup procedures reflect extensive training and practical experience with similar operations, where technical proficiency could determine mission success or catastrophic failure. The M40A6 rifle system responds to Elena's handling like a familiar tool rather than military equipment, her muscle memory guiding weapon preparation and sight adjustment with automatic precision that demonstrates years of experience with similar systems under comparable operational conditions. She performs function checks and calibration procedures with efficiency that suggests this preparation has become second nature through extensive practice. Communication with base command requires Elena to coordinate her tactical position with overall defensive operations while maintaining operational security that prevents hostile forces from identifying sniper positions through intercepted radio traffic. Her communications discipline reflects understanding of battlefield procedures and enemy capabilities that could compromise defensive operations through electronic surveillance. The hostile infiltrators appear in Elena's scope as professional operators moving with tactical discipline that confirms earlier assessments of their capabilities and training backgrounds. Their equipment, coordination, and movement patterns suggest military experience that equals or exceeds the defensive capabilities available to Fort Meridian's personnel, creating tactical challenges that require precision solutions rather than conventional firepower advantages. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying this story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Elena's first target acquisition occurs under conditions that test every aspect of her training and experience: limited visibility, moving targets, explosive materials that could detonate from stray rounds, time pressure that eliminates careful preparation, and knowledge that mission failure could result in casualties numbered in hundreds rather than the individual losses. Typical of conventional combat operations, the crosshairs settle on the lead infiltrator with steady precision that reflects years of training and combat experience. Elena's breathing controlled and her trigger discipline perfect as she prepares to engage targets that represent immediate threats to base security and personnel survival. Her shot placement must be absolutely precise to neutralize threats without triggering explosive detonation that could accomplish enemy objectives despite tactical failure. The crack of Elena's rifle echoes across the desert landscape with the authority of professional precision, followed immediately by the distinctive sound of a threat eliminated before it could complete its deadly mission. Through her scope, she watches the lead infiltrator collapse with surgical accuracy, his demolition equipment scattering across the sand in a pattern that speaks to the terminal effectiveness of properly applied marksmanship under combat conditions. The remaining hostile forces freeze momentarily, their tactical formation disrupted by the sudden loss of their point man and the realization that their carefully planned operation has encountered unexpected opposition. Elena's second shot follows, with mechanical precision that demonstrates years of training condensed into muscle memory that functions independently of conscious thought, her breathing controlled and her trigger squeezed smooth as silk despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. The second infiltrator drops before his colleagues can identify the source of incoming fire, creating confusion in their ranks that provides tactical advantage for defensive forces who suddenly find themselves with breathing room they didn't possess moments earlier. The base communication center erupts in controlled celebration as Master Sergeant Thompson receives confirmation of successful target elimination from his improvised sniper. The tactical situation transformed from desperate defense to manageable engagement through the precise application of capabilities that nobody realized were available. Outstanding shooting, Gunnery Sergeant. He transmits with professional appreciation that carries personal relief. Continue engagement as targets present themselves. Elena adjusts her position slightly to accommodate new firing angles as the remaining infiltrators attempt to reorganize their approach using cover and concealment that would defeat less experienced marksmen. Her scope tracks movement with predatory focus that reflects combat experience earned through survival in environments where second place meant permanent casualty status. Her tactical awareness encompassing not just immediate targets, but potential escape routes and reinforcement possibilities. The third hostile operative attempts to use his fallen comrade's body as concealment while advancing toward the ammunition facility. A tactical decision that demonstrates professional training but fails to account for Elena's elevated position and advanced optics that penetrate camouflage attempts. Her shot placement eliminates this threat with clinical efficiency that would impress instructors at the Marine Corps' most advanced sniper schools. Staff. Sergeant Martinez coordinates ground-based defensive elements while providing tactical support. For Elena's precision operations, his deployment experience enabling him to anticipate enemy countermeasures and adjust friendly positions accordingly. All units maintain defensive positions but be prepared to exploit opportunities created by sniper operations. Do not advance beyond designated boundaries without authorization from command. The remaining infiltrators recognize the futility of their current approach and attempt to withdraw toward predetermined extraction points, their movement pattern suggesting tactical discipline that survived contact with superior defensive capabilities. Elena tracks their retreat through her scope while calculating lead angles and environmental factors that could affect long-range engagement of moving targets across varied terrain. Elena's fourth shot stretches the effective range of her weapon system to limits that challenge even experienced marksmen. The target moving through broken ground that provides partial concealment and unpredictable movement patterns. Her bullet finds its mark despite these complications, demonstrating marksmanship capabilities that exist only among the most elite military specialists and reflect years of training under conditions that most personnel never experience. The final two infiltrators attempt to escape through terrain that offers natural concealment from conventional ground-based observation. But Elena's elevated position provides sight lines that defeat their evasion attempts. Her tactical assessment incorporates their likely escape routes, extraction procedures, and potential for reinforcement or secondary attack capabilities that could threaten base security if allowed to regroup with outside support elements. Elena's fifth engagement occurs at maximum effective range, under conditions that push her equipment and personal capabilities to their absolute limits. Wind compensation and bullet drop calculations performed automatically through experience that has internalized ballistic principles into instinctive responses. The shot eliminates the fifth threat with precision that would be impossible for anyone lacking her specific combination of training, experience, and natural ability. The last remaining infiltrator attempts desperate concealment behind abandoned equipment while apparently calling for extraction or reinforcement through radio communications that base intelligence personnel attempt to intercept. Elena maintains visual contact while coordinating with ground elements to ensure that escape routes remain blocked and extraction attempts can be interdicted by conventional forces supporting her precision operations. Elena's final shot concludes the engagement with definitive precision that eliminates the last immediate threat to base security while preserving ammunition, facility integrity, and preventing catastrophic explosions that could have devastated Fort Meridian and created casualties, extending far beyond military personnel to include civilian populations in surrounding communities. Her marksmanship demonstration provides textbook examples of precision shooting under combat conditions. The descent from her water tower position occurs with the same stealth and tactical awareness that characterized Elena's initial movement. Her equipment secured and her approach route selected to minimize exposure to potential observation by hostile reinforcements or electronic surveillance that could compromise future defensive operations. She moves with professional efficiency that suggests this type of operation represents familiar rather than exceptional activity. Base Command coordinates immediate tactical assessment of the engagement area while ensuring that explosive devices carried by eliminated infiltrators receive proper disposal by qualified explosive ordnance personnel. Master Sergeant Thompson's situation reports to higher command authority reflect successful defensive operations that prevented catastrophic damage through the application of precision capabilities that exceeded all previous assessments of available resources. Elena returns to the base armory to secure her weapon system and account for ammunition expenditure according to protocols that seem almost surreal. After combat operations that saved hundreds of lives and prevented destruction that could have affected military readiness across multiple installations, Staff Sergeant Kim processes her equipment return with professional respect that acknowledges capabilities he never suspected existed within his area of responsibility. The administrative building receives Elena's return with an atmosphere transformed. From emergency panic to cautious relief, personnel beginning to process the reality that their base has survived a terrorist attack through the intervention of someone they had dismissed as invisible support staff. Captain Rodriguez attempts to reconcile tactical reports with his previous understanding of available defensive resources and civilian employee capabilities. Elena resumes her position in the janitor's supply closet with deliberate calm that suggests her transition from combat operations to civilian employment represents practiced routine rather than extraordinary adaptation. She changes from tactical clothing back into gray coveralls with movements that indicate this transformation occurs frequently enough to have become automatic response to operational security requirements. Master Sergeant Thompson approaches Elena. with formal military courtesy that acknowledges her demonstrated capabilities, while respecting whatever circumstances required her to maintain civilian identity despite possessing combat skills that exceed those of most active duty personnel. Gunnery Sergeant, I need to submit after-action reports that accurately reflect what occurred here today. How do you want to be identified in official documentation? Elena's response reflects careful consideration of operational security requirements that extend beyond immediate tactical success to encompass personal safety factors that outsiders cannot fully understand or appreciate. My civilian employment status serves important security purposes that remain classified. Please identify me in reports as base personnel with specialized capabilities, and avoid specific details that could compromise operational security for ongoing classified programs. The base medical facility receives Elena for routine post-combat medical evaluation despite her apparent lack of injuries, standard procedure for personnel involved in lethal force incidents that require documentation for legal and administrative purposes. Medical personnel perform examinations with professional thoroughness while attempting to reconcile their patients. Civilian employment status with combat capabilities that clearly indicate extensive military background. Elena's medical evaluation reveals physical conditioning and stress responses consistent with experienced combat personnel rather than civilian support staff. Findings that medical personnel document with appropriate discretion while noting discrepancies that may require future clarification through proper administrative channels. Her vital signs indicate someone accustomed to high-stress situations and capable of maintaining operational effectiveness under extreme pressure. The base commander requests Elena's presence for private discussion in his office, a meeting that acknowledges the necessity of understanding capabilities that have proven critical for installation security while respecting whatever circumstances require her to maintain civilian identity despite possessing military skills that exceed those available through normal personnel assignments. Colonel Harrison's conversation with Elena occurs behind closed doors that ensure operational security while allowing frank discussion of capabilities, limitations, and requirements that affect base security planning for future contingencies. Their discussion encompasses tactical lessons learned, defensive improvements needed, and personnel resource assessment that incorporates previously unknown capabilities into overall security planning. Elena requests permission to return to her normal cleaning duties without fanfare or recognition that could compromise her civilian status, understanding that effective cover identities require consistent behavior patterns that don't draw attention or create curiosity about background details that must remain protected. Her preference for anonymity reflects security considerations that transcend personal modesty or career advancement concerns. The base settles into cautious normalcy as personnel process the day's events while maintaining heightened security awareness that acknowledges potential for future threats against installations that may appear more vulnerable than their actual defensive capabilities suggest. Elena's demonstration of hidden resources provides both reassurance and uncertainty about what other capabilities may exist unrecognized within their community. The morning after the crisis arrives with desert sunrise that seems unchanged despite the fundamental transformation that has occurred within Fort Meridian's understanding of itself and the people who walk among its personnel every single day. Elena pushes her cleaning cart through the same corridor she has navigated for months, wearing the same gray coveralls and following the same methodical routine. But everything has changed in ways both subtle and profound that will ripple through this military community for years to come. Young Marines, who previously dismissed her with casual indifference, now step aside with genuine respect when Elena approaches, their eyes reflecting new awareness of capabilities they never suspected existed beneath the surface of routine civilian employment. Lance Corporal Williams, who once joked about the Ghost Lady, now greets her with military courtesy. That acknowledges debt he can never fully repay. "Good morning, ma'am," he says quietly, his voice carrying admiration that wasn't present 24 hours earlier. The transformation extends beyond individual interactions to encompass institutional changes that reflect hard-learned lessons about assumptions, prejudices, and the dangerous habit of judging people by superficial characteristics rather than underlying capabilities. The base administration has quietly begun reviewing personnel policies that may have overlooked valuable resources while perpetuating stereotypes that could prove operationally dangerous during future emergencies. Staff Sergeant Martinez approaches Elena during her morning routine in Building 7, his manner reflecting professional respect that transcends rank structures and civilian military distinctions. "Ma'am, I wanted to thank you personally for what you did yesterday. Without your intervention, we would have lost Marines and civilians who have families depending on them coming home safely. Your actions saved lives that can't be replaced or forgotten." Elena accepts his gratitude with the same quiet dignity she has always displayed, understanding that recognition brings both appreciation and unwanted attention that could compromise operational security requirements she cannot discuss openly. "I was in the right place at the right time with relevant capabilities," she responds simply. Any Marine would have done the same under similar circumstances. That's what service means. The base cafeteria displays a subtle but significant change in its daily operations as staff members treat Elena with consideration that acknowledges her contributions while respecting her preference for maintaining civilian identity. Kitchen personnel save choice meal portions for her, dining hall supervisors ensure she receives assistance when needed, and other civilian employees regard her with new understanding of what quiet service can accomplish. Master Sergeant Thompson has submitted classified after-action reports that document tactical lessons learned, while protecting operational security details that could compromise Elena's safety or reveal sensitive information about specialized capabilities that remain classified at levels above normal security clearances. His documentation emphasizes the importance of recognizing valuable resources that may not be immediately obvious through conventional assessment procedures. The Scout Sniper Training Facility receives Elena's cleaning services with heightened awareness of her background and capabilities. Instructors now recognizing that their civilian support staff possesses practical experience that exceeds their own theoretical knowledge in many areas. Training discussions occur differently when Elena is present, with subtle acknowledgement that their conversations might benefit from insights they lack permission to request directly. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez, the facility's senior instructor, struggles with the realization that someone he dismissed as irrelevant maintenance personnel actually represents the type of operational capability his training programs aspire to develop in their students. His teaching methodology has been fundamentally challenged by discovering that excellence existed unrecognized in their midst, hidden behind assumptions he never thought to question. Elena's cleaning routine in the sniper facility now includes occasional moments where instructors pause their lessons to observe her movements and positioning, recognizing professional awareness that could enhance their educational programs if they could find appropriate ways to incorporate such experience. Their training scenarios seem theoretical when compared to practical knowledge demonstrated through successful combat operations. The base's administrative personnel process paperwork related to the previous day's events while grappling with bureaucratic complications created by Elena's civilian status and classified background. Standard forms and reporting procedures prove inadequate for documenting capabilities that don't fit normal categories, forcing them to develop new administrative approaches for unusual circumstances. Colonel Harrison meets privately with Elena to discuss operational security concerns and future base defense planning, their conversation revealing mutual respect between professionals who understand classified requirements and operational necessities that outsiders cannot fully appreciate. His command responsibilities have been complicated by discovering resources he didn't know existed and capabilities he cannot openly acknowledge or utilize. Your presence here serves purposes I'm not clear to understand fully, Harrison acknowledges during their confidential discussion. But I need to ensure that base security planning incorporates realistic assessments of available capabilities without compromising whatever operational requirements keep you in civilian status. Can you provide guidance on how to balance these competing needs? Elena's response reflects careful consideration of security requirements that extend beyond immediate tactical concerns to encompass personal safety factors and classified programs that remain active despite her current assignment. My civilian employment provides excellent cover for maintaining readiness, while serving this community in ways that most people don't need to understand. That arrangement should continue unchanged. The base library becomes an unlikely center for quiet transformation as Marines seek books about military history, specialized operations, and biographical accounts of individuals who served with distinction, while remaining largely unknown to public recognition. Elena's example has inspired curiosity about unsung heroes and hidden contributions that shape military effectiveness without seeking publicity or advancement. Young Marines approach their daily duties with new awareness that excellence can exist in unexpected forms and places, that judgment based on appearances may blind them to valuable resources and important lessons available from sources they previously ignored. Their conversations reflect growing appreciation for consistency, reliability, and quiet competence that serves others without demanding recognition. Elena's apartment remains unchanged despite her temporary emergence from anonymity, her living space continuing to reflect the deliberate neutrality that characterizes long-term cover identity maintenance. She understands that operational security requires returning to normal patterns as quickly as possible, avoiding behavior changes that could draw attention from hostile intelligence services or curious individuals. The evening news broadcasts report terrorist attack prevention at an undisclosed military installation, their coverage limited to general information that protects operational security while acknowledging successful defensive operations. Elena watches these reports with professional interest while understanding that her role will remain officially unrecognized for security reasons that serve larger strategic purposes. Base personnel develop informal communication networks that share respect for Elena's contributions while maintaining discretion about details that must remain protected. Their conversations reflect growing understanding that heroism often operates without fanfare, that effectiveness frequently depends on remaining invisible, and that service takes many forms that don't always receive appropriate recognition. Motor pool mechanics treat Elena with new consideration when she arrives to clean their facilities, understanding that their previous casual dismissal reflected ignorance rather than accurate assessment of her capabilities or worth. Their work discussions now include acknowledgement that valuable perspectives can come from unexpected sources if they remain open to learning from anyone willing to share knowledge. Elena's presence during their technical conversations about vehicle maintenance and tactical mobility creates opportunities for informal knowledge exchange that benefits everyone involved. Her questions demonstrate understanding of mechanical principles and operational requirements that enhance their problem-solving discussions while respecting their professional expertise in specialized areas. Staff: Sergeant Kim processes armory inventory reports that document equipment usage during the previous day's operations, his paperwork reflecting successful utilization of specialized weapons systems by personnel whose capabilities exceeded all previous assessments. His administrative procedures now include provisions for emergency access by qualified individuals regardless of their official assignment status. The Base Communication Center operates with enhanced security awareness that incorporates lessons learned about assumption-based vulnerabilities and the importance of recognizing valuable resources that may not be immediately obvious through CONVENTIONAL evaluation procedures. Their personnel train differently now, understanding that excellence can exist in forms they haven't learned to identify properly. Elena completes her daily cleaning assignments while observing positive changes in base culture that reflect growing appreciation for quiet service, consistent performance, and capabilities that don't announce themselves through obvious displays. The Marines around her demonstrate increased awareness of individuals who contribute effectively without seeking recognition or advancement through traditional military channels. The transformation at Fort Meridian represents more than tactical success or individual heroism. It reflects fundamental lessons about seeing people clearly, appreciating contributions that occur without fanfare, and recognizing that strength often operates through humility rather than self-promotion. Elena's example challenges assumptions about worth, capability, and the various forms that service can take within military communities. Her story resonates beyond immediate tactical implications to encompass broader questions about how society recognizes and values different types of contribution, how organizations can better identify and utilize available resources, and how individuals can serve effectively while maintaining necessary anonymity for operational security or personal safety reasons. The base settles into new rhythms that incorporate respect for Elena's contributions while allowing her to return to the civilian anonymity that serves her ongoing security requirements. The Marines who work alongside her now understand that heroism takes many forms, that excellence operates through consistency rather than drama, and that the most valuable people often prefer recognition through results rather than publicity. Elena continues her cleaning duties with the same methodical efficiency that has always characterized her work, understanding that true service means being available when needed while remaining invisible when visibility could compromise larger purposes. Her example provides lasting inspiration for recognizing and appreciating quiet heroes who walk among us every day, serving faithfully without expecting acknowledgement or reward, beyond knowing that their contributions make a difference when it matters most. 6 months later, Elena quietly submits her resignation from Fort Meridian, her departure as understated as her years of service. No farewell ceremonies, no recognition dinners, just a simple notification that the cleaning contract has ended. Her final day arrives on a Tuesday morning, unremarkable except for the steady stream of Marines who find reasons to walk past her cleaning cart one last time. Staff Sergeant Martinez slips a handwritten note into her supply bucket. "Thank you for teaching us to see clearly." Lance Corporal Chun leaves a small American flag pin beside her cleaning supplies. Master Sergeant Thompson simply nods with military precision as she passes, a gesture that carries the weight of shared understanding between warriors. Elena loads her equipment for the final time, her movements watched by personnel who now understand that they're witnessing the departure of someone whose true story may never be fully known or officially acknowledged. Her weathered Toyota pickup truck disappears through the main gate at exactly 1700 hours, carrying with it capabilities that transform their understanding of service, sacrifice, and the heroes who walk among us. The next morning, a new cleaning contractor arrives at Fort Meridian. The Marines treat this person with respect that Elena's example taught them to offer everyone who serves faithfully, regardless of their apparent status or official position. Her legacy lives on in changed hearts and open minds that will never again assume they understand someone's full story based on surface appearances. Sometimes, the most powerful transformations occur not through dramatic revelations, but through quiet consistency that teaches us to look deeper, appreciate more fully, and recognize that extraordinary people often choose ordinary roles while serving purposes we may never completely understand. If this story opened your eyes to seeing people differently, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs this reminder. What hidden heroes have you discovered in your own life? Let us know in the comments below.